Reality in the backdrop. When hyper-augmentation becomes actualized. It is one of those cruel ironies in history that whenever a future vision arrives too early, it becomes an object of overripe derision. This has happened repeatedly over the centuries. Dylan Love, writing for Insider, lists 5 inventions that were way ahead of their time, including flushing toilets, 18th century BC, contact lenses, 1632, difference machine, 1822, electric car, 1828, solar cells, 1883. One could even add Apple's Newton message pad, which lasted from 1993 to 1998, only to find its salvation 12 years later in a brand new incarnation called simply iPad. I mention this as a contextual preface, since the vision of a truly digital metaverse is a profound one, and will in time transform almost everything we experience. Yet, as I write this, Mark Zuckerberg and Meta, formerly Facebook, are getting hammered as a pipe dream, with a stock plunge almost unprecedented in modern corporate history. How do shares drop from 380 to 100 in the span of a year? Most financial observers place the blame squarely on Zuckerberg, who has a consistent track record of mismanaging several key acquisitions, such as Instagram and WhatsApp, and turning one-time darlings of the internet crowd into poor imitations of their prior selves. However, and this however is a large one, I think Zuckerberg is absolutely right about his vision of the future. The problem isn't his augury but his packaging and execution. He claimed too much, too early, and delivered less than what the buying public was envisioning. In time, Zuckerberg's promotion of the metaverse will indeed seem prophetic, even if he is not unique or alone in his prognostications. But time is a deceitful mistress, and it can beguile one to make faulty predictions that boomerang back and reveal one's uninspected hubris. Virtual and augmented reality is our destiny, even for many of us right now. Yet, we are in the very early days of this digital and immersive revolution. Zuckerberg obviously knows this, but he wants his company not to be late for the game, as he was with mobile. So, what does he do instead? He changes the name of his company, quite unnecessary, rebrands several products, what's wrong with Oculus Rift as a name? And then launches a media blitz about how we are all going to live in a Ready Player One-styled virtual environment. Yes, we will, but not yet. And therein lies the problem. William Gibson said it best when he reportedly wrote, "The future has arrived, it is just not evenly distributed." The tragedy is that Mark Zuckerberg is simply not trusted by the vast majority of people who use his company's socially mediated products. To many, he represents precisely what is wrong with today's world, where the invasion of one's privacy or the masked usage of one's personal data is regarded as de rigueur. Thus, his attempt to create his version of the metaverse is met with severe skepticism, strictly because of what Facebook has failed to do in the past. Zuckerberg's track record, rightly or wrongly, is Meta's Achilles heel. Yet, as Palmer Luckey, the erstwhile creator behind the prototype of what is now the most popular VR headset in the world, Oculus Quest 2, rightly explained, as cited by Carly Hayes in his October 24, 2022 article. Mark Zuckerberg is the #1 virtual reality fan in the world, Luckey said. He's put in more money and time to it than anyone ever in history. He said the amount of money Zuckerberg is putting behind the project alone means there's a chance Horizon Worlds will get better and the metaverse will be a success. "It is terrible today, but it could be amazing in the future," he said. Zuckerberg will put the money in to do it. They're in the best position of anyone to win in the long run. Lucky is right. The glitch is that Mark Zuckerberg is viewed as an untrustworthy steward for such an all-encompassing life-changing transformation. Yes, the metaverse will come, and many are hoping such will happen sooner than later, but they don't want Mark Zuckerberg and his team to be the ones leading or controlling it. Because of this, Meta is getting raked over the coals and losing billions. This, I would suggest, is a mistake and a short-sighted one. Instead of trying to kill Zuckerberg's vision, we should rather wake up to what has already been accomplished and steer Meta along a pathway where its success is intimately intertwined with what the users worldwide desire and need. Meta, in other words, needs our voices, our input, and our investment. In this way, we can make sure that Zuckerberg's purview includes many diverse contributions. Why am I championing what many regard as a losing cause? Why am I not asking for Zuckerberg's ouster and complete downfall? Because despite all of his mistakes, his cartoonish avatars, and his spendthrift ways, Mark Zuckerberg is right about where technology is headed, and he was willing to midwife VR at exactly the moment when other tech companies were faltering and lacking the massive resources to accelerate and push the boundaries to make truly immersive digital content a reality, or, as David Chalmers might put it, to co-opt the title of his recent philosophically laden tome, A Reality Plus. There are moments in virtual reality that can be likened to religious conversions, where one almost immediately sees and hears things in a new light, quite unexpected even though one was chock full of expectations. At first, such proclamations have the earmarks of hyperbolic zealotry. But as the oft-used cliché rightly suggests, seeing is believing, or, perhaps more accurately, experiencing is convincing. In my own life, I have had 4 or 5 come-to-Jesus moments where I was wonderstruck by VR. My latest road to Damascus moment occurred just a couple of days ago when I donned Meta's latest VR headset, the expensive Meta Quest Pro. I have played hundreds of different virtual reality applications, but this was quite different since it juxtaposed my day-to-day world with a hyperreal simulation. At one end of the spectrum I saw my wife and kids sitting on the couch, and at the other end, there was a doorway to a magical land that once I passed through, the threshold encompassed and transported me into a surreal astral-like region. It was as if C.S. Lewis' children's fantasy, The Chronicles of Narnia, had come alive, and Professor Kirk's secret wardrobe portal which connected Earth and Aslan's transcendent realm had actualized. I was literally standing between 2 different worlds, and free to choose which one to enter simply by walking or teleporting. It was completely mind-boggling. And all of it was available right now, and not merely the product of a writer's overwrought imagination. Who in their right mind centuries ago could have envisioned such a beguiling and enchanting possibility, and all of this could be had at the click of a button? The mixed reality application Figmin showed me that we will augment all that we see around us in the real world, with multiple layers of information, some factual, some whimsical, but all of it will forever change how we live, interact, and entertain. Humans have always been augmenters, from tool-making to fashioning clothes to creating new technical gadgets, but now we have the ability to alter our world digitally almost instantly and without huge sums of money or a labor-intensive workforce. We will indeed live in a dual universe, or a multiverse, of varying options that will allow us to teleport from one world to the next and even have transparent bridges between each. With the newest VR transformation fresh in my mind, I can now easily envision how life will become richer and almost infinitely more creative. I was startled using Figmin on the Meta Quest Pro because I had the uncanny experience of seeing our normal reality fade into a more blurred background as digital augmentation came to the foreground and become hyper-reality. Mixed reality has become a Huxleyan doors of perception, where one is temporarily blinded like Paul only to regain a completely new sense of sight. The world is not the same because we are not the same when our line of vision has been altered. What is to come will upend everything we know and believe about reality. We are clearly entering the Kingdom of Oz, as VR is the tornado that will elevate us from Kansas into an emerald city that even Frank Baum, the novelist, couldn't have conjured up in his wildest dreams. As I write these last lines, a flurry of quotes from Jean Baudrillard, the French sociologist and cultural theorist, flood my mind, even if what he penned before his death in 2007 may not be exactly about VR in general. The very definition of the real becomes that of which it is possible to give an equivalent reproduction. The real is not only what can be reproduced, but that which is always already reproduced. The hyper-real. But what if God himself can be simulated, that is to say can be reduced to signs that constitute faith? Then the whole system becomes weightless, it is no longer anything but a gigantic simulacrum, not unreal, but simulacrum, that is to say never exchanged for the real, but exchanged for itself, in an uninterrupted circuit without reference or circumference.